In the previous part we saw that Woojin Kim found a dead member of the Phoenix Guild in a cave. He found a book, which contained the blacklist of the Phoenix Guild. Back to today's chapter, where Woojin Kim achieved a new legendary rank. This skill is called the Eye of Anubis. This gives him the ability to look at someone's past, even when they're dead. A screen pops up, which confirms that he obtained the skill. He wants to try it on the dead person in the cave. He looks the skeleton in the eyes. There is a shadow coming off his eye. A light beam connects the eyes of Kim Woo-jin and the skeleton. We see the crew member of the dead man asking for help in his past. He regrets leaving them behind like that. He does not want to die in the cave, but he remembers that he has one of the most powerful people of the Phoenix Guild on his side. With those thoughts on his mind, he decided to manhunt. One of the most powerful people of the Phoenix Guild instructed him to do this, Park Yong-won. Kim Woo-jin has seen enough of the past, so the Eye of Anubis shuts off. It kind of hurt Kim Woo-jin a little bit. He states that it wasn't really pleasant to look at his past. He decides that he wants to confront the instructor of these killings, Park Jong-won. Back to the office of the guild, where one of the higher-ups is really mad that Kim Woo-jin got one of the stronger dungeons. They are aware that he is conquering this dungeon. The secretary states that he will fix this issue, but the higher-up doesn't believe him, so he fires him. Someone is reading the news about Kim Woo-jin annihilating all the dungeons, but it wasn't enough to impress him. This person also heard that he left all his crew members alone in the dungeons. He states that his growth as a hunter will stop here, since no one wants to join a party with him anymore. The man who just said all this about Kim Woo-jin gets a call from Kim Woo-jin himself. Guilds sometimes combine their strength to clear a hard dungeon, but there are still 2 empty places for a hard dungeon his guild is going to shortly. He realized with even the strength of the other guilds, these 2 spaces could not be filled, since they didn't come to an agreement yet. It's an A+ dungeon. This is a very hard dungeon and they need all the strength they can get. A lot of rare items will drop at this dungeon. But one of the secretary claims that it will be a big risk to enter this dungeon, even with these great forces. There's no one except the 4 guilds that already applied who wants to join the fight. But they find that understandable. Park Yong-won called one of the higher-ups, the instructor of the man killings, in the previous dungeons. He announces that Kim Woo-jin will join the fight along with them. He is in disbelief, but he's really underestimating Kim Woo-jin. One of the assistants is speechless. He never thought that a new hunter would be able to join them. The team leader has no choice and lets him join. He states that the other guilds wouldn't care if he joined, since he always wanders off alone. They assume that he is going to be used as Park Yong-won's dog. So they don't know that he's not even going to be a part of his faction. The assistant asks again if the other guilds will not fight over that position. But the team leader states that they won't, since it's a request from one of the higher-ups of the Lion Guild. They speculate that this decision might have some positive influence on the Lion's Guild. They wonder how Kim Woo-jin was able to contact someone with this position. Park Jong-won states that Kim Woo-jin bribed him with the badge of the dead person in the cave, since he instructed him to let his guild members die. But he thinks that Kim Woo-jin will be useful to him, so he decides to use him. He was also bribed with the blacklist that Park Jong-won created for the Phoenix Guild, but he thought that Kim Woo-jin came to blackmail him for money, but he did not. He asked Park Jong-won to enter the dungeon his guild is going to enter in a few days. Park Jong-won laughs, but he accepts it, but only on one condition. But that condition is not shown to us. Kim Woo-jin is now at the university, where the conference is held and information is given about the dungeon. He sees that the dungeon contains more than 1,000 orcs. This excites him even more. This is the colony of the orcs champion. This means that every orc is as strong as the previous dungeon boss. A lot of people died the last time they entered this dungeon. Kim Woo-jin thinks that they also killed each other in there, but the guilds let it slide since there's no evidence. This would be the perfect circumstance to reduce competition between the players. The reward for clearing the dungeon is a very powerful and expensive item. The last time they entered the dungeon like this, the Messiah Guild got a reward. He tries to predict the next action of the Messiah Guild with the help of his past memories. It's already time to enter the dungeon, and a lot of people have gathered to watch it. There are a lot of guilds: the Messiah Guild, the Phoenix Guild, the Lion Guild and the Skull Guild, and Kim Woo-jin. They are all going to enter with each other. This is rare, since they are rivals. The Messiah Guild takes the lead, and they go to the front. People are surprised that they were able to make a formation this quickly. The Phoenix Guild tries to step up as well. They enter the dungeon and they are welcomed by a powerful orc. The Messiah Guild steps up and tries to take rid of it. One of the guild members uses his shield to defend attacks. He shields the attacks off easily, but he's not able to attack. But this was all part of the plan. A lot of players of the Messiah Guild are helping from the sidelines. One of the guild members binds the orc with his powers. He neutralizes the orc on his own, but everyone else feels a powerful shockwave from the ground. They are thinking of an earthquake. But that's not the case. It's a sound coming from the forest. The guild members came prepared, but they did not expect so many orcs to come at them at the same time. The Phoenix Guild goes into offense immediately, but the orcs are too strong. They attack the Phoenix Guild and they are taken down. But the wizards are there to help them from a distance. The orcs aren't able to move with their help. So all the attackers run immediately towards the orcs. But they recover from those spells easily and they fight back again. Kim Woo-jin sees the fight and realizes that he has enough time to go on alone. He's convinced that the players will take down this horde of orcs. He tries to find the orc champion at the same time. Meanwhile, the orc champion is punishing one of his own. Even the orcs are afraid by this behavior from the orc champion. The orc champion stands up and uses his axe. He observes the orc champion from a distance. He followed the orcs that were running away, and he sees the orc champion. He realizes that the orc champion will be alone if the other orcs are at the battlefield. This is the best opportunity to challenge him, so he's waiting for the chance. He is immediately going for the kill. The Lion Guild is easily annihilating the orcs. They see them as weaklings. But another horde is coming, which they did not expect. A horde of 900 orcs is coming while they're fighting. It's an all army. But he already defeated the orcs, so it was not a problem for him. He tells the Lion Guild to move on. He announces that a large number of orcs is marching towards them. He orders them to cooperate with the other guilds. The guilds could be annihilated if they don't work together well, but not everyone takes his advice. Some of the guild members argue with each other, and they are splitting up. They are going to reorganize and take some rest. Meanwhile, Kim Woo-jin is trying to take down the orc champion. He lets his two skeletons challenge the orc. He wants to use the same plan as before. He wants his skeletons to distract the orc, while he fires an arrow at the eye of the orc to activate the skill Hemotoxin. But the champion orc is way stronger than the previous orcs. The skeletons are no match for him. He crushes them with one hit. He hits his weapon at the ground, and the whole ground shakes. He's preparing to make an attack at the skeletons, but the skeletons are trying to attack him at his feet. While the skeletons are distracting the orcs champion, Kim Woo-jin is preparing to shoot an arrow at him. He realizes that he has only one chance. He has only one skeleton left, so he must fire now. So he does. The arrow is heading exactly the right way, but the orc champion unfortunately dodges it. Kim Woo-jin realizes that he is too powerful for him. His skeleton still tries to attack him, but it's no use. The sword of the skeleton breaks in the attempt to cut the orc champion. The orc champion swings his sword at the skeleton on the ground, and he just vanishes from the force. Kim Woo-jin realizes that he has to change plans. His magic power is way too low to overpower the orc champion. so he decides to run away. But the Orc Champion is not even following him. He let him escape because the Orc Champion did not see him as a threat. He states that the Orc Champion will regret letting him go. He sees other players hiding. It's the Lion Guild, who wants to let the other guild members die to reduce their competition. But they were also looking for the Orc Champion. But one by one, the members of the Lion Guild are suddenly falling down. There should be no other monsters than orcs, but this is not an orc power. He suggests that these are not monsters at all, so he asks them to reveal themselves. But Kim Woo-jin has already returned to the camp. He wonders why everyone is so depressed. He looks around, and everyone is in a bad mood. But he then sees a graveyard, and he realizes how many people died today. The guild members at the camp are still blaming each other for the many deaths. A lot of bodies are missing, but that is not a surprise, since orcs are eating humans. They are fighting for their survival at this point. They are hoping to find the survivor of the missing people. There is a chance that they could get information about the missing people that way. Kim Woo-jin realizes that the number of deaths is already too high for today. He thinks that someone else is behind this. Early in the morning, the orcs are already marching towards the humans. The guild members are unable to stand their ground. More orcs appear than expected. They were not prepared for an army of orcs. Kim Woo-jin realizes that he cannot deal good damage to the Orc Champion. But he has an idea. The skeletons might be able to shoot arrows like him. So he challenges the Orc Champion again. He has a different strategy this time, so he starts his second round of fighting. The Orc Champion jumps, but the skeletons are shooting at him with arrows. The Orc Champion sees the skeletons and moves towards them. He is really fast and he throws rocks around him. This makes him even more destructive. But the skeletons are not giving up. The Orc Champion destroys all the arrows with one hit. Kim Woo-jin is happy about his arrow shooting skeletons. He states that everything is going as planned.